Hello and welcome to Adobe Premiere Made Easy. I'm Chris, a self-taught video editor. When I first started editing, I found it intimidating, but I soon discovered how easy it can be. This tutorial is designed to make video editing easy for you. You might notice that English is not my first language. I'm German and I may create a German version of this tutorial one day. Feel free to post any comments or questions in English or German. Before diving into Adobe Premiere specifics, let's discuss the concept of non-destructive video editing, which applies to all major editing software. Besides Adobe Premiere, I'm familiar with Apple's Final Cut and Blackmagic's DaVinci Resolve. These programs share many similarities, so if you have used any of them before, you can skip to the next chapter. Video editing involves rearranging and manipulating media to create new work. It's essential in filmmaking, whether for a big Hollywood movie or a short YouTube clip shot on a smartphone. Software like Premiere Pro simplifies this task, but it can initially be confusing because it differs from most other programs you've used. The key difference is the concept of non-destructive editing. Let me explain this by comparing it to a traditional program like a word processor. Here I have a Microsoft Word document and a graphic designed in Adobe Illustrator. When I drag the graphic as a letterhead into my text, it becomes part of my document. I save this document, I close the document, and now I delete the original graphic and reopen my text document, and the graphic is still here because it became part of the original document. All the changes are permanent. That is called destructive editing. In contrast, video editing software like Adobe Premiere Pro uses non-destructive editing. I've used the same graphic as a lower third in this video in the right corner of my screen, but it did not become part of the Premiere project file. Instead, Premiere Pro just manages a reference like a pointer to the original file on my hard drive. If I delete, rename, or move the original file, it will stop showing in my video because that link is broken. Let me switch to Premiere and I show you an example. Here I am in Premiere, and in my timeline I have a clip, some behind-the-scene footage shot on a video production. Now I can right-click on this clip and say Reveal in Explorer or Reveal in Finder if you're on the Mac, and I can double-click and see the original file in my media player or QuickTime player on a Mac. I can even go in Premiere and manipulate this clip by, for instance, desaturating and make it a black and white clip. And now I go back to my Explorer. I'm gonna play it because nothing has changed. All the changes were made in a separate project file for Premiere Pro. Let me quit this document and save the changes, the black and white, and now I reopen it. And even after changing and reopening, I still have the option to say remove attributes, and it shows me the original file in my timeline again, and I can change the coloring and any other changes I want to do. So the original footage is never affected, is never changed. That is non-destructive editing. This non-destructive approach has two main advantages. First, the original media always stays intact. And second, media files can be very large, gigabytes or even terabytes, depending on the camera and resolution. And we don't want to duplicate them for use in our project. However, it also has some challenges. If you or someone with access to the same network drive or cloud storage deletes, moves, or renames these files, the reference link will be broken, and they won't show in your project anymore. Let me demonstrate this. I rename the clip which we use in our project by calling it _x. The file still exists and even remains in the same location, but Premiere will no longer recognize it with the new name. And when I switch back to Premiere, I get an error message. Sometimes it's unavoidable to rename files or move them to a different location. But as long as the media isn't permanently deleted, there are ways to fix these broken links. We'll cover that in a later chapter. The main point I wanted to stress in this first chapter for new editors is why data management is crucial in video editing. I will emphasize this throughout the tutorial. Thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it and check in again for chapter 2. Bye bye.